8:06 here on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868. You can also text us at 680-680. Speaking of rallies, I've mentioned the rally for Market Basket Friday, 9 a.m. on 10 Main Street in Tewksbury, exit 38 off of 495. I hope many of you can show up and show support and solidarity with the workers and employees of Market Basket. We will be having our own rally to stop the massive invasion of illegal immigrants into our state, and in particular, Mini-Me, Governor Deval Patrick's decision to house at least 1,000 unaccompanied minors from Central America at Camp Edwards in Bourne, on Cape Cod, and in Chicopee. It will be this Saturday, July 26th, at the steps of the State House from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Please, I need all of you to show up. Bring your family members, bring your friends, bring your relatives. Our state is being invaded, and we need to stop it now before it destroys our communities, our schools, our healthcare system. Our state is turned from Massachusetts into Massachusetts. Well, yesterday, the hard radical left, believe it or not, held their own rally on behalf of the illegal invasion of this state and of the country. And this took place in Lynn. And if you can believe this, they were angry at the mayor of Lynn, Judy Kennedy, and the school superintendent, both of whom, Kathy Latham. Why were they angry with Mayor Kennedy and with Kathy Latham? Because the two of them were honest enough to go to the media and say that they are now being flooded. There has been a huge influx of minors coming into Lynn that is draining the school system. It is overflowing the classroom. It is breaking the budget of Lynn. Its welfare services, its social services, its schools, its education, its hospitals. It is at the breaking point. And rather than listening to the mayor, rather than listening to the school superintendent, who are saying, we're going broke. We can't take it in. There's just so many of them coming in, we can't handle this influx. They held a rally against the mayor of Lynn, against the school superintendent, Kathy Latham. And what was their argument? About 100 to 150 people showed up. It was organized by a lot of the hard left-wing, far left-wing groups in this state, and their argument was very simple. Quote, keep the kids, deport the racists. They went on to argue that immigrants have been part of Lynn's past and present, and so about 150 people spread out across City Hall steps began calling for unity among all the residents of Lynn to support the illegal alien immigrants, Obama's illegal aliens. And so Reverend Victoria Weinstein, who is a Lynn homeowner, quote, said, we have to get better at this. It is a disgrace that this kind of rhetoric, meaning this anti-illegal immigration rhetoric, flourishes in this nation of immigrants. And so there were pastors, there were hardcore activists. There they were basically saying, Lynn can afford it, shut up and keep paying. And if you happen to oppose this, if you happen to speak out against it, then you are a bigot. You are a racist. And it is not these gangbangers that they're bringing in. It's not these illegal criminals that they're bringing in. It's not these children with infectious diseases like scabies and tuberculosis and chickenpox and the measles that they're bringing in. They're not the ones that should be deported. It is you, ordinary Americans. You're the ones that need to be deported because you're a racist. Notice with the hard left, notice with these progressives, whenever you have a disagreement with them, they don't have the facts, they don't have the evidence, they don't have logic, they don't have history, they don't have anything else on their side except smearing, demonizing, and libeling. That's all they have. All they have is essentially cheap name calling and demonizing the opposition. So now, according to these clowns that organized the rally yesterday, and they call themselves even reverends, they're not very tolerant there, Reverend Victoria Weinstein. That's not very tolerant to start calling people racist just because, you know, they don't want their schools to go bankrupt. They don't want their hospitals to go bankrupt. They don't want their kids going to schools, going to the classroom with other kids who may have the swine flu or who may have measles or who may have TB. You know, little things like that. Not very tolerant there, Reverend Weinstein. All you have is the KKK card? So now we're all members of the Ku Klux Klan? Everybody? The overwhelming majority of African Americans? The overwhelming majority of Latinos? The overwhelming majority of Asians? The overwhelming majority of whites? The overwhelming majority of the residents of Lynn and of Salem and of Cape Cod, and of Chicopee, and of Lawrence, and of Lowell, even in Chelsea, which is a safe haven for illegal immigrants. The illegals of Chelsea don't want these unaccompanied minors coming in. The illegals are saying, we don't want any more illegals. So, the overwhelming majority of the people of Massachusetts, the overwhelming majority of the people of New England, the overwhelming majority of the people of America, they're all racist now because they don't agree with you, Reverend Weinstein. That's your level of tolerance. That's your level of sophistication. That's all you have in your arsenal to defend and aid and abet this invasion? And frankly, what was even more revolting and even more disgusting, most of the rally, I swear to you, God is my witness, according to these media reports, it was conducted in Spanish. It was conducted in Spanish. That even had some of the protesters complaining because they're like, well, we don't understand you. I mean, we don't understand you. So apparently, school committee and Lynn United for Change member Maria Carrasco spoke passionately and basically largely in Spanish. And as she spoke in Spanish, people were like, we don't understand you. Why are you speaking in Spanish? No comprende. I don't know, no pable español, no comprende. And so she fired back saying, well, look, I'm sorry, but we're all immigrants and we need to support each other on this issue. Well, yeah, but if I don't understand what you're saying, how can I support you? I mean, just look at how utterly ridiculous and pathetic it is. Yeah, the host spoke in Spanish and in English, and then a lot of the times they were just speaking in Spanish. And so, and if you disagree with anybody, you're a racist. And so, another reverend, Jane Gould, she came out and said, now again, notice now, first it started with Mini-Me. Now everybody is quoting scripture. Now suddenly, whatever happened to separation of church and state? Now suddenly, everybody's a born-again Christian. Everybody's a quote-unquote Bible thumper now, as the liberals like to deride conservative Christians. Now, Reverend Jane Gould said it's time for residents to, quote, follow in Jesus' footsteps and welcome the children and care for them. Suddenly now, what would Jesus do? It's time to believe in Jesus. It's time to act like Jesus. Really, Reverend Gould? Now you cite Jesus. Tell me, what do you think Jesus would say about abortion? I mean, I'm just curious. You think he'd be for abortion? You think he'd like killing unborn babies? Tell me, where do you think Jesus stands on, I don't know, same-sex marriage? Where do you think Jesus stands on homosexuality? No. Oh, separation of church and state. Oh, I get it. Oh, no, then we don't mention Jesus. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Moreover, I don't know what you're talking about. If you ever read the Bible in your life, nations are there in the Bible. You think Jesus walked around and said we're all part of one world government? We're all, quote, citizens of the world? And everybody has a right to do anything they want? Notice how they just suddenly invoke Jesus whenever it feels like them, and they know nothing what they're talking about. Because if they really cared about the children, first of all, they'd care about their own children in Lynn and the children of this state who are being decimated and attacked and their interests being undermined. They're the ones being threatened by this massive invasion of illegal immigrants. Because if Lynn goes bankrupt, everybody suffers. If you're bringing in TB and scabies and measles and the swine flu, all the kids suffer. If you have an education system whereby most of the kids can't speak English, everybody suffers. If you have gangbangers coming across the border and you're bringing them into our communities, that violence affects everybody. So what? Jesus now was for suicide? Jesus was for allowing people to come in and just start shooting everybody and killing everybody and everybody getting sick and diseased? That's what you're telling me Jesus was for? Now, there is a wonderful special report in today's Boston Herald to show you how radically far to the left Deval Mini-Me Patrick is, Diablo Patrick, and these hard left-wingers that were at the rally yesterday. Democratic Representative Steve Lynch, and I like Steve Lynch. I've always liked Congressman Lynch. To me, I'm not a Democrat, you know that, but he's my kind of Democrat. That was the day, he's the Democrat when the Democratic Party was still moderate and sensible. But let that go. Congressman Lynch, according to the Boston Herald, went on a junket. He basically went down to Latin America to see firsthand what is going on there, what he saw in Central America. And he went on a 4-day fact-finding mission. He went to Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras. Steve Lynch says it is obvious from everything he's seen, every law enforcement official he spoke to in Central America, every political leader he met in Central America, family members he met in Central America. The reason why they're leaving has nothing to do with poverty or gang violence. They're leaving because the human smugglers tied to the Mexican drug cartels, the coyotes as they're calling them, are telling everybody it's because of American policy, and in particular Obama's policy. If you make it up El Norte, if you make it up to the United States, the dumb gringo is going to give you amnesty and you're going to stay. And so the coyotes have been advertising this in newspapers and media all across Central America, saying, we'll take care of your children, we'll take them all the way up, and once they're there, they will not be able to be deported. That's American policy now. And they're charging $5,000, $6,000, as much as $9,000. In other words, by allowing these children in, we are in fact enabling the coyotes, these despicable, brutal human traffickers, smugglers, to continue to take advantage of these kids, steal from their parents, exploit their parents, exploit their misery, and on the way, many of these children are being brutalized and raped. This is not compassion. This is surrender to the Mexican drug cartels and to the coyotes. You love the children? You say you care about the children? Send them back to where they belong, with their parents and their families. 617-266-6868 is the number. What do you make of the Lynn rally yesterday? Do you think Judy Kennedy and Kathy Latham are to blame because they spoke out about the problems of illegal immigration? And are you a racist for opposing the invasion of this state. I want to hear from you. 617-266-6868, 821 on the Great RKO. All of your calls next. 825 on the Great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. Kathy, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Go ahead, Kathy.
Hi, Jeff. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Well, I wanted to start by saying that the whole Obama presidency is exhausting. Between not defending Israel, the IRS scandals, Benghazi, it's now, the border, it's just every day, it's just one thing after another. And, I think it's time that the people of Massachusetts absolutely step up. I think a lot of people, regardless if they're Republicans, Democrats, liberals, we have to realize that this is absolutely a threat to us, our health, the compassion. We're all compassionate. We all want to help people out. I'm Catholic. I like to make sure that I do, the right Christian thing. But this is wrong. This is breaking the laws, and it seems that it's okay when the Democrats do it. When the Obama administration allows people to not follow the rules, but we get punished, as Republicans or as Christians when we do things. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
No, Kathy, look, I've said it before and I'll say it again. What is to me very disturbing about this country is that law-abiding Americans, conservatives, Christians, independents, moderates, whatever, are being treated as second-class citizens. We are becoming second-class citizens in our own country. And the laws don't apply to illegal immigrants. The laws don't apply to our elites. The laws don't apply to the dear leader. The laws don't apply to mini-me Governor Deval Patrick. The laws don't apply to the cronies of Obama. Take Obamacare. I'm going to get to the Supreme Court rulings in the next hour. But have you noticed? We have to abide by Obamacare. Our premiums go up. I lost my doctor. I lost my health care plan. But his favorite labor unions, they get exemptions. Businesses and corporations connected to him, his cronies, they get exemptions. He gets an exemption. So the politicians get an exemption. Well-connected businesses, they get exemptions. The unions get exemptions. But we don't. So when I came from Canada, I'm an immigrant. I came lawfully, legally. There was a need for journalists, for editors, and I applied. I got a green card. Forgive me, a work visa. Then I renewed my work visa. Then I applied for a green card. In total, it cost me $25,000. Now, don't get me wrong. I paid it happily. I would have paid double that because I love this country so much. Triple that if I could. But I had to wait in line. I got myself an immigration lawyer. I played by the rules. You see, I respected this country and its laws and its traditions. If I come to your house, you see, what they kept saying at Lynn yesterday, at that rally, we're all immigrants. We were all once immigrants. Yes, legal immigrants. That's the point. If I invite you to my house, you're invited into my house. You're a guest in my house. And if you end up marrying my daughter or my son, then you're part of my family. A nation is a family. But if I just come into your house uninvited, I'm trespassing. I'm breaking the law. That's what they're doing. I'm a criminal. I'm an intruder. I'm an invader. Now, what if you turn around and say, well, no, I mean, people come into my house all the time. I have people, guests coming. I have a very lively house. Look, honestly, my wife's Italian. We have a lot of guests at our house. My wife likes people. She's gregarious. She likes to cook. We have a lot of family. I'm having family coming in 2 weeks. My house is it's going to be packed in 2 weeks. My in-laws are invading the Kuhner. Well, not invading. My in-laws are, coming. They're coming at the Kuhner home. Okay? Because they're invited. But it's going to be top to bottom. I won't have a couch to spare, a bread. a bed to spare. That doesn't mean that Joe Blow off the corner street can suddenly just come into my house and say, well, Kuhner's always got a house full of people. I'm a guest just like everyone else is a guest. No, you're not a guest. You weren't welcomed. You weren't invited. You're an intruder. And now what they're telling us, think about this. Think how immoral it is, okay? Somebody comes into your house. He's a squatter, a criminal, an invader. And then he parks himself in your basement, and he's living there. And then he's going to your fridge, and he's eating at your house, and he won't leave. And then another one comes. And then he brings friends, and then he brings more family members, and before you know it, they're sleeping in your bed. They're in your basement. They're in your rooms. They're occupying your toilets. They're eating off of your kitchen table. And then you say, look, I can't afford it. First of all, you shouldn't be here because you're uninvited, but number two, literally, I can't afford it. I'm going to go bankrupt. And you're the racist? And you're the bigot? You're not allowed to say, get the hell out of my house? That's not being ruthless. That's not being uncompassionate. That's not being, quote, unchristian. Now they're all quoting the Bible. It's called self-respect. It's called protecting your family. It's called self-preservation. It's called patriotism. Patria, love of my own. No, I'm sorry. This is wrong on every possible angle, from however you look at it. And you have these clowns yesterday. Oh, my grandparents came, and my other grandparents came, and they suffered discrimination, and they came here legally. They waited in line, and then they were brought in, and they became Americans. They came to give and not to take. My friends, if we don't stand up now, we're going to be just like the workers at Market Basket. We're all going to be kicked out onto the street. 617-266-6868 is the number. This Saturday, July 26th, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the steps of the State House, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New England. Now is the time to say, enough is enough.
A couple of weeks ago, my brother-in-law, who enjoys reading right-wing blogs, sent me a post. My city had yet again made the news. We seem to only make the news for anti-immigrant comments, gay bashing, and bullying. Those are the last 3 times my brother-in-law has sent me stories of women.
That was one of the so-called reverends at the rally for illegal aliens held in Lynn yesterday, whereby they're protesting the mayor of Lynn, Judy Kennedy, the superintendent of Lynn, Kathy Latham, Kathy Latham, for apparently complaining that they're being overwhelmed. So even now to complain is verboten. It is verboten in Obama's America. We have the NSA spying on us. We have the IRS targeting conservatives. Pretty soon now, as they said, that was their sign, keep the kids, deport the racists. So what's next? You're going to round us up into FEMA camps? Is that what you want, Reverend Weinstein? Is that what you want, Reverend Gould? You want to round us up into camps? And then what? Murder us or deport all of us? This is incredible. And that's what I keep trying to warn people of this state. This is no longer FDR's Democratic Party. These are no longer Kennedy Democrats. These are radical, hardcore, anti-American socialists who are now bent on destroying and transforming this country into a third world Gestapo state. And you may say, Jeff, come on now, Jeff. You're exaggerating, Jeff. Come on now. Okay. Look at the organizers of this rally. Members of Lynn United for Change, big left-wing group. Lynn parents organizing for a better education. Really, huh? Yeah, by flooding it with illegal immigrants. Oh, that really improves the quality of education. Another left-wing group. Neighbor to neighbor. Neighbor to neighbor, literally, is a Saul Alinsky, far left-wing, community activist group. Brittany once says, about whose faith? Now, is this Weinstein or Gould? Okay, here's the Reverend. Hold on. The Reverend is now going to educate us on this is her so-called faith. She's a very religious person. You can see that. This is her so-called faith. This is Weinstein. Roll it, Brittany.
In my faith tradition as a Christian pastor, what I know is that God tells us to welcome the alien in our midst. God tells us to show hospitality to immigrants. God tells us to welcome and care for children, to care for the least of these, because that is how we will be judged. How we treat the least among us.
Okay, no problem. Take them in. I'm citing your words. You say, as a Christian, notice that, now they're all Christians. Ooh, what, again, separation of church and state, that's gone now. Oh, no, now, everybody's biblical. Everybody's religious. Everybody now, they love thumping that Bible now. Now, everybody's citing scripture. It's incredible now. They're all born agains. Okay, so, according to you, Reverend Weinstein, you said you'll be judged if you don't take an illegal alien in your bed. You want him in your bed. No problem. Take him in. Who's stopping you? Adopt him. Who's stopping you? Put him up in foster homes. Who's stopping you? What's the problem? There was 150 at the rally. No problem. Let's see. There's 1,000 of them. Each of you take what? Take 6 or 7 each and no problem. You could take all of them. What's the problem? You say you're going to go to hell if you don't take these illegal aliens. How come you're not taking in these illegal aliens? You want us to take them in. You want us to house them, us to feed them, us to give them an education, us to school them on our dime, on our pocket, in our schools, in our communities, affecting our children, our property taxes. Practice what you preach, you hypocrite, you fraud. 617-266-6868 is the number. You know, I got to tell you, honestly, some people are incredible. Like, they just hear what they want to hear. So I made the analogy, before I went to break, that if we don't stand up and defend our state from this illegal invasion, we could end up, potentially, as the workers of Market Basket, who are now worried that if this ouster of RDT is not reversed, Market Basket will be decimated, people will be fired, and their wages and benefits slashed and cut. And I said, we could all, if Market Basket doesn't win their fight, we could end up like the workers of Market Basket. All of us eventually could be on the streets if we don't stand up and protest. Check out this one. Jeff, you're I can't say this on the air. Jeff, you're a jerk. I'm cleaning it up. I'm a hard-working Market Basket driver, the kind of person you hold in high regards. Yes. I loved your show, but will no longer listen to you now. Why? Because we were not thrown into the street. We are here willingly to fight for our beliefs. You didn't listen to the last 2 hours of the show from 6 to 8? I mean, this is... Hello? Yes, I know you're there willingly fighting for your beliefs. I stand with you. What the workers are saying, what I'm saying, is if Arthur S. Demoulas wins, if he wins this power struggle, your guys' jobs, security, careers, benefits, gone. That could be us with illegal immigration. That was my point. How the hell am I insulting you? You see what I got to put up with? A man of my education, a man of my learning? It's incredible. Even when I'm siding with you, I have people saying they're insulted. 617-266-6868. Lines are loaded. Comrade 1, hola, comrade.
No, it's racist, Comrade 1. Me and my Colombian wife, we're both racist. Get it? Yeah. It's 150 people. It'd probably be called a rally. In some cases, that's a birthday party or a wedding. We finally found an issue where there are people on the other side that are with us. So I would like to extend my hand to every liberal out there. Come to the rally with us. Let's stand together. You have finally woken up to the fact that the Democrats aren't there to help you either. It is not just this issue. It's every issue. So join us, and let's stand together and see if we can save this country before none of us can have an opinion. And I'll tell you what's next, Jeff. They're offering $6,000 a month to take one of these illegals in. And if no one takes up on it, in a lot of communist countries, you know this, oh, you have an extra bedroom? Guess what? Not anymore, you don't.
Thank you for that call, comrade. That's my big fear. They may force it on us. They may force us. I'm telling you, they're that out of control. And if the numbers, look, there's 90,000 coming this year. They're projecting 160,000 next year. They've already put aside 30 million green cards in the Senate-passed comprehensive immigration bill. 30 million. That's literally everybody from Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala. We can't take care of these people unless we house them all in our own homes. They're playing with fire. America, wake up, for God's sakes. Linda, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Hey, good morning, Jeff, and thank you so much for taking my call again.
My pleasure.
A couple of points I want to make. I've got the Daily Lynn item in my hand right now, and looking at the photograph on the front of the Reverend Jane Gould and the remarks from Reverend Victoria Weinstein. I want these two ladies to open up their homes to the illegals, open up your checkbook to the illegals, because I'm tired of paying for them. And you know what, Jeff? I am not a racist. I am not anti-immigrant. I am pro-immigration when it's done legally. My grandparents on my father's side came from Lebanon. My grandparents on my mother's side, one came from Ireland. The other one was born in this country. She is full-blooded Cherokee, by the way, which makes me a quarter Cherokee. That's a hell of a lot more than Elizabeth Warren will ever be, even in her dreams. But you know what? My grandparents came here. They learned English. They worked hard. My grandfather always worked 2 jobs his entire life, as did my dad. And they paid their fair share of taxes. And I'm only asking that these immigrants come to the country, come here legally, do it the right way, the way that you've done it, Jeff, the way that everybody else has done it, and assimilate into our country. There's no reason why Maria Carrasco should have been up there speaking Spanish to the group. I mean, come on, this is part of the problem. We are a country of laws, and doggone it, start obeying the laws. And that's law number 1, is you come here legally. And honestly, the spigot should be turned off for all of these illegals until we can start to help our own Americans. And that would be our homeless veterans, our veterans right now in the VA system who are getting inadequate care and sometimes no care whatsoever. We have enough poor kids around this country, and the poor elderly people. I would also invite everybody to go back into your DVR or TV. Watch the program that was on WGBH last night on Frontline called Poor Kids. It highlights 3 families in this country, in Iowa and Illinois. Parents who have lost their job, kids who have, families who have had to move out of their homes because their homes were foreclosed on, and live in hotels and live on welfare. And these people don't want to do it, but they were forced to do it because of the economy. And this is going to be a major problem down the road when we take in more and more illegals who will take jobs under the table and thereby force out people with good-paying jobs.
Bingo.
Thanks,
you
Jeff.
Absolutely nailed it. What we're now facing is the national question. Whether America as we know it will exist, or whether it'll be transformed into a third world banana republic. That's literally the issue. Shall we be or not be, as Shakespeare put it? My friends, what side are you on? Mike, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Hey, Jeff, is John, or you call him Warren, what's he getting, soft on me? Here he is saying we've got to get the liberals to get on board. Hey, John, I don't know if you got the memo. These people are ideologues. They're not going to move toward our position ever. And here's another thing I want to say about people calling this show. You had one caller, and they talked about this issue, the illegal immigration, how serious of a problem it is to our culture, and to our families, and to our schools. Then at every angle, every person says this: I'm religious. I am compassionate. I am, humanitarian. I feel for children. Forget that rhetoric. The good guys finish last in this fight. I am not compassionate. I am not humanitarian. I am an American. And I fought for this country. Now it's time for us to forget that rhetoric and say it right out. You keep screwing with us, we're going to fight back, and you're not going to like it. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you very much, Mike. 8:53 here on the Great WRKO. 617-266-6868. Okay, now it's almost like we have dueling phone calls now. So Mike said his piece. Now, Comrade Juan, you want to come? You want to respond to Mike, Comrade?
Yeah, and I wish he was still there. Mike, far from getting soft. I'm as hardline as they get and as solid as they get, okay? And there's found an issue, obviously, with only 150 people at that so-called rally. There's plenty of Democrats who agree with us on this issue. Division is what's killing us. We do have to find a way to come, and let's not fighting amongst the troops. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, Comrade Juan. 617. Listen, unity in Kuhner country. Because, my friends, if we don't hang together, we will certainly be hanged separately. 617-266-6868. 8:54 on the Great RKO. More with your calls next. 8:55 on the Great WRKO. Russ, you've been holding patiently. Thank you, sir, and welcome. Hi, Russ.
Yes, Jeff.
Hey, go ahead, my friend.
Okay. I want to mention a couple of things here.
Sure.
First of all, Weinstein there, as far as I'm concerned, she sounds like the Reverend Al from Lynn. In reference to parking for Saturday's rally, the underground common garage is less expensive than other garages in the area.
Yes.
And now I want to thank Arthur T. and the loyal employees providing the basic necessity of life at an affordable price. Arthur S. and the board of directors will shaft us all. And the thing that really gets me, the other markets, the remaining markets will raise their prices. And this is why we must stand with the loyal employees of Market Basket, because we're in this boat together. And there's no question that I'm a loyal shopper, and this is going to cost me thousands of dollars in increased costs for my basic necessity of life.
I know, Russ. I mean, that's what I love about Market Basket. It's one of the most effective anti-poverty programs we have. It's the free market. It's better than government aid. It's better than food stamps because it provides excellent, low-cost, good product, good food at a reasonable price. And if RTT loses to Arthur S., it's going to affect everybody. Jennifer, you're up next. Welcome.
Hi, Jeff. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure.
I just wanted to let the listeners know that Occupy Falmouth had a rally on Monday afternoon, and that sign that you're talking about was there, and it also was on the front page of the Cape Cod Times yesterday, and I hope everyone calls in to complain and state that they're highly offensive, putting that sign on the front page of the newspaper.
I mean, keep the kids, deport the racists.
Yes, that's exactly what was on. So the Occupy movement is alive and well in Massachusetts, and they are organizing. The other thing I wanted to ask you, Jeff, was the Board of Selectmen met last evening, and they unanimously voted not to have the children come to Camp Edwards, and they're writing a letter to Governor Patrick, and I wonder what your opinion is of how much weight that letter will have. And we are carpooling, and we'll see you on Saturday.
God bless you, Jennifer.
Thank you. I'm going to hang up and let you listen to your answer. Thank you.
Look, no, I think these letters are important because it shows Democrats don't want this. The people of Cape Cod don't want it. The people of Bourne don't want it. Their elected representatives don't want it. The mayor of Chicopee is going out of his mind. He says we can't afford it. There's no even at that Air Force Reserve base. He goes, there's no room even on the base. Never mind in our community. So as pressure builds and builds and builds, he will have to back down. My friends, we can win this fight. But now is the time to show people power. I need you on Saturday, steps of the State House, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Stop the invasion rally, my friends, for your community, for the state, for our country. Let's tell them loud and clear. Send them home. 9:02 on the great WRKO. Let's take it to Angela in the news.
News at the top and bottom. Talk in between.
Executing assigned host duties flawlessly because I can't do wrong.
This is AM 680 WRKO, Boston.
.907 here on the great WRKO, hour 4 of the Kuhner Report. 617-266-6868 is the number. You can also text us at 680-680. My friends, we're going to continue obviously discussing illegal immigration, the rally in Lynn, the boycott of Market Basket, a lot of issues. But first, there's something else you need to be aware of. I got a couple of calls yesterday from State Representative Jim Lyons, Republican, a staunch social conservative, a devout Christian like myself, who has been fighting a lot of these culture war issues almost single-handedly up on Beacon Hill. And he told me that recently, outgoing Senate President Therese Murray rammed through a bill that seeks to replace the abortion buffer zone that was struck down by the Supreme Court 9-0. Now think about this. 9-0. That all of the liberal justices, as well as the conservative justices and Kennedy, the swing vote, said that Massachusetts' abortion buffer zone, which essentially prevents people from protesting abortion, within a wide area around an abortion clinic, was clearly unconstitutional. It violated freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of association, you think. Well, having been rebuffed 9-0 by the Supreme Court, now, surreptitiously, behind closed doors, the radical secular Democrats, the hard left progressives, are now trying to ram through another bill that seeks to replace the abortion buffer zone with another abortion buffer zone. And so they've rammed it through the Senate, and now they're trying to ram it through the House, but State Representative Jim Lyons is going to do everything he can to file amendments, hold the line, and take a stand for freedom of speech and freedom of expression. Joining me now is Representative Jim Lyons. Jim, thank you so much for coming on the Kuhner Report.
Jeff, thank you very much for having me. This is another one of those issues that we all should be concerned about. The fact that the legislature, led by, as you've just pointed out, the Senate President and also the Attorney General, Martha Coakley, former State Representative Martha Walls, and the Governor are trying to once again take away free speech from a very narrow group of people in Massachusetts. And the question was identified back during the debate over the bill by the AFL-CIO, and what they said was, who is next? And I think that's the real concern. If they don't like a specific speech in Massachusetts, because of the overwhelming majority in the House of Representatives and in the Senate, they can take anyone's rights away. And that's what they're doing here. They are absolutely ramming a bill through that, as you just pointed out, was overwhelmingly rejected. by a 9-0 decision of the Supreme Court.
Representative Lyons, if you can just set the stage, the background for our audience. So what was the abortion buffer zone previously? Why was it shot down by the Supreme Court? And what is this replacement buffer zone that the Democrats on Beacon Hill and along with the governor are trying to replace it with?
So back in 2007, there was a new buffer zone of 35 feet outside the entrances and driveways of reproductive facilities. And this bill was passed in the Senate on a voice vote in 2007 and in the House by a roll call vote of 122 to 28. And basically what that bill did was eliminated speech within a 30-foot area outside of a buffer zone. But it only eliminated one specific type of speech. And Justice Scalia, I think, in his explanation, in his questioning, nailed it absolutely right on. If someone was standing out there having a conversation, if you or I were out there having a conversation, and you said to me, Jim, this is a safe facility, and I think you ought to go in there and talk to the people, that speech would be allowed. However, if I said to you, Jeff, I really think we ought to take a look at this facility and decide whether or not it is safe or whether or not there are other options available to people, I would get arrested for that. That's the law that they passed in Massachusetts. And the Supreme Court, if you read the oral arguments, absolutely looked at this law as one of free speech and recognized just how bad it was. And the fact that you pointed out that the liberals on the court decided to overturn this is an indication of just how bad and one-sided this bill is. So the ruling came down on June the 26th, and within 21 days, there is a new bill crafted that is actually worse than the bill that was already overturned by the Supreme Court. And it was passed by Martha Coakley, who, as everyone knows, is her campaign is being financed by the allies of Planned Parenthood. It was crafted by the executive director of Planned Parenthood, former Representative Martha Walls, who is now running Planned Parenthood in Massachusetts to a job that is paid close to $250,000, and also by Governor Patrick, who is a former member of Planned Parenthood. And this has nothing to do, despite their rhetoric about protecting public safety, this has everything to do with eliminating free speech. And the Senate President, they held one hearing last week. They've done no studies. And on a voice vote, they rammed it through the Senate. And now, with less than 1 week to the end of the legislative session, the Democrats on Beacon Hill are trying to ram it through the House. And it's just simply wrong. It's already cost the taxpayers of Massachusetts millions of dollars defending the bill that was passed on behalf of Planned Parenthood, and it's only going to cost us more money. And what we need, if they're going to pass legislation like this, let's extend it to every single protest that takes place in the Commonwealth. If we're really concerned about public safety, why don't we put a buffer zone bill in place everywhere? And that's the real question. Why are they limiting it to strictly reproductive health facilities? The reason we're doing this is because it has absolutely nothing to do with public safety and everything to do with restricting free speech around the issue of abortion.
Representative Lyons, Jim, if this law is passed, what would it do if it was implemented? In other words, how big and how wide would the buffer zone be?
So what they have now, what they're proposing in this bill is what they call a dispersal bill. So if there's someone standing in front of an abortion clinic within the, say, 15 or 20 feet of an abortion clinic, and one of the workers happens to see that someone said something that they didn't like, for example, I'm praying for you, because some people might be offended by the words, I'm praying for you. They would then tell the police officer, that person intimidated me, because the definition of intimidation is left in the eyes of the beholder, according to this bill. The officer then would come down and write a note and say to the person, you go stand behind that line for 8 hours. So what they're doing is they're making the police officer the judge, the jury, and the person who decides what the punishment is, and they're putting people almost like a 3-year-old. You put them in a timeout. I mean, it's pure lunacy, and that's what they're trying to do. In addition, what they're trying to do is they've made some of these fines up to $25,000 and $30,000, and also if you're
$25,000 to $30,000.
Right. In addition to that,
hold on, Jim. Before we get to that, hold on. If I show up, because I want the audience to understand this, Jim. If I show up with abortion is murder or abortion is wrong sign, and someone going in to get an abortion or a Planned Parenthood person says, "Ooh, I find this intimidating. I'm scared by this. I'm offended by this," I can be fined $25,000 to $30,000.
Those are the potential damages. In addition, if you were ever convicted, you would be responsible for the costs associated with the suit, and it's only one-sided. It's only against the folks who have a pro-life position. So basically, what they're trying to do is chill free speech. I mean, picture an older person or a younger person who is standing in front of a clinic, and they're under the threat. They're under the threat of potential damages that could bankrupt them. I mean, if that isn't an indication that they want to chill free speech, I quite frankly don't know what it is. So that's exactly what they're trying to do, Jeff. They're trying to eliminate and chill free speech in front of a very selective facilities in Massachusetts. And the reason they're trying to do it is because they're using Planned Parenthood in all kinds of different ways. They're infiltrating our educational system. They're using the funds from our tax dollars to create huge jobs for former legislators, and they're trying to make sure that people in Massachusetts forever remain silent on the issue of the pro-life side of this. And as a matter of fact, the Attorney General of Massachusetts was asked a question just last week, 2 weeks ago. Are you going to bring any pro-life people into the discussion? And her comment was, when asked if they would bring any pro-life organizations to listen to the concerns, Coakley said they are strictly partnering with groups who share their mission. I mean, that's outrageous. The Attorney General of the Commonwealth has a constitutional responsibility to protect all citizens. But in Massachusetts, Attorney General Coakley is showing that she doesn't really care about anyone that has a pro-life position at all. Not only that, she sent out a letter just yesterday on NARAL pro-choice Massachusetts stationery, and she said, "We are not going to let the Supreme Court have the last word on access to reproductive health care." I mean, the arrogance of this Attorney General is just absolutely incredible. I mean, she writes a law that is overturned 9-0, and she's doubling down.
Representative Lyons, I would assume you could extend this. Let's say you want to protest the facility where illegal immigrants are being housed. They could say, well, potentially based off of this law, if they want to extend it, well, that's threatening, that's intimidating. We need a buffer zone for that. I mean, they could do it on issue after issue.
They could do it to these folks who are out there, expressing what's going on at these market baskets and within their freedom of speech rights, and have 100% right to do that. If the powers to be in Massachusetts decide they don't like it, this is what they do. And not only they've done it, and they're doing it again. Here's something that people really have to think about. We've been told, as you know, Jeff, for decades, that the Supreme Court Roe v. Wade's decision in 1973 is the law of the land. One might hope that in Massachusetts, these same people who have been lecturing us about Roe as the law of the land would have sufficient humility and consistency in their thinking to also now respect McCullen as the law of the land. After all, it's the same Supreme Court and the same Constitution. But we're now seeing in Massachusetts, according to Attorney General Martha Coakley, we are not going to let the Supreme Court have the last word on access to reproductive health facilities. The arrogance is just dripping, and the total disrespect for the law of the land in Massachusetts among the power and the elitists is out of control.
Jim, I can even do that one better. I thought the First Amendment was the settled law of the land. But call me crazy, Jim. Jim, I'm up against it. I gotta go. We've been speaking to State Representative Jim Lyons, keeping up the good fight on Beacon Hill. Representative Lyons, give him hell. Don't back down, my friend.
Thank you very much.
God bless you. 617-266-6868, 921 on the great WRKO. More with your calls next. 926 on the great WRKO. Donald, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Go ahead. Hi, Donald. Wow, geez, Donald, you sound like you're in the Himalayas or something. Like, really? I mean, you sound like you're in Central America, Donald. Russ, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Shoot.
Hello, Jeff.
Hey, Russ.
Hi, good to talk to you again. Jeff, I wanted to give a response to what Governor Patrick said a few days ago, quoting the Bible about taking in strangers.
Yes.
On immigration.
Yes.
Well, he's got a point there, but in response to that, well, first of all, the Bible does say that you should take in the stranger and care for them. But they were talking about ancient Israel, and I believe they were talking about when a couple of strangers come into your town and they're very needy, then you should care for them and love them and help them with their needs. But it doesn't say to open up your doors to floodgates of hundreds and thousands of strangers coming into your town. He was quoting, I believe, from Deuteronomy. And I did a little bit of research, and if you want some armament for the rally on Saturday, I did some research into this, and he was quoting from Deuteronomy, and it does say in Deuteronomy 10, verse 18 of the Old Testament, to love and care for strangers. That's one verse I believe he was standing on. It also says in Leviticus 19, verse 34, to treat strangers well. But, I don't think Governor Patrick reads the Bible that often, I would venture to say. But when you read the Bible, you need to take the whole counsel of God, not just little pieces, and use it to support your agenda. And I believe that's what he's doing here.
Russ, I think you're right, but I think you're being way too civilized and too respectful of the governor.
Oh, yeah, but I want to make the rest of the point.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah. The rest of the point is there's three other verses. One in Exodus 12:48 that say, when strangers come into your land, they must partake of your customs and the traditions of the land. This is in opposition to what he's saying. In Deuteronomy 24, the same book, it says, Deuteronomy 24:14, verses 15 through 22, it says, aliens who work treat well in the land. And it also says in Deuteronomy 31, verse 12, for strangers to hear and learn and revere God, and for the children also to learn about God. And the final opposing verse would be, and I don't know exactly where it is, but I know I've read it before. It says that we must obey the law of the land. So those are a few opposing verses from the Bible that I'd like to...
Yeah, no, Russ, you nailed it. Look, what they're trying to say is this. Okay, essentially, what the modern progressives and the socialists, what they're trying to convince people is that Jesus was the first socialist. That 2,000 years before Marxism, Jesus was a Marxist, he was a socialist. So Jesus was a modern-day, open borders, progressive liberal. That's the scam. That's the fraud they're trying to perpetrate. And it's not true. Jesus didn't say, take the criminals into your own home. Jesus didn't say, bring the gangbangers into your own home. Jesus didn't say, let them rape your wife, let them rape your daughter, let them murder your sons. Bring in diseases and let everybody be sick. Jesus never said that. So they're deliberately misquoting and manipulating what's in the Bible to suit their own radical secular political agenda. It's wrong, it's immoral, and frankly, it's disgusting. Have you no fear of God? Mini-me? 617-266-6868 is the number. 9:30 on the Great WRKO. More to come. Don't touch that dial. 9:38 here on the Great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, the voice of the resistance. 617-266-6868. You can text us, as always, 680-680. We'll get back to the phone lines in just a second. But, my friends, all of you need to be aware of this. Yesterday, potentially, the appeals court, the appeals court delivered a potentially crippling blow to Obamacare. And this one has the White House in full panic. It has the supporters of Obamacare in full panic. It has the liberals and progressives, many of them now openly saying, including pro-Obama law professors, saying they believe that Obamacare is now doomed to collapse. And here is what happened. Yesterday, the D.C. Court of Appeals ruled in a 2-1 judgment that according to the text of the 2010 law, which specifically says that federal premiums, subsidies for Obamacare, will only be funneled through state exchanges, those healthcare exchanges set up only in the states. This means that the subsidies given to people who've been purchasing Obamacare solely on the federal exchanges are illegal and unconstitutional. Now, you may say, Jeff, what does that mean in plain English? What it means in plain English is that about 5.4 million people have signed up for coverage on the federal exchange. Much of it, about almost 90% of them, are receiving huge subsidies. That's how they end up paying for their Obamacare, for their new health care coverage under the federal exchange. 36 states have not set up these state-run exchanges. Only 14 have, including our own here, Massachusetts, the Connector, which is an absolute disaster. But let that go. That means that in 36 states, which have people signing up on the federal exchange, because they don't have these healthcare state exchanges, these Obamacare state exchanges, the D.C. Court of Appeals has now said they cannot receive their subsidies and their premium supports. That is illegal and unconstitutional, because it clearly violates the plain text of the law. That, what it means is, in plain language, it's going to be appealed, so the whole decision is on stay. No one's premiums are going to be affected. No one's taxes are going up for now. It is now headed to the Supreme Court for an ultimate showdown. And the Obama administration now wants the full appellate court to, most of them, by the way, many of them have been appointed by the dear leader, but he wants the full appellate court to look at this 2-1 decision. Because, I mean, this cuts him off at the knees. But if this decision holds, they will not be eligible for these subsidies, which means that millions of people are going to lose their Obamacare coverage. The rest of us are going to see our healthcare premiums go even higher to pay for all of these people to try to get them insured. Costs are going to go up. This is going to, and millions of people are going to be left without health care. So it is going to be an absolute death blow to Obamacare if the Supreme Court rules that these subsidies cannot be provided. Now, if you just stand back for a second, it is now obvious that what is happening now in Supreme Court decision after Supreme Court decision is that now Obamacare is slowly being chiseled to death. It is the death of 1,000 cuts. I believe it will not stand. It is a shoddy law. It is collapsing. It is falling apart. It is unraveling. And are any of you surprised? The whole thing was based on a lie. That you could keep your doctor, you can keep your health care plan. That's not true. I lost my doctor. I lost my health care plan. Millions of Americans lost their doctors and their health care plans. The dear leader said we would all save $2,500 per family. In fact, the average cost has gone up per family $3,000 to $4,000. Here in Massachusetts, we had basically universal health care. Whatever you thought of Romney Care, we didn't need the federal government. 98% of our citizens were already covered under Romney Care. So we ended up paying higher taxes, higher premiums, higher health care costs. For what? To get this garbage connector health network? This was sold on a pack of lies. And it has led to rationing. It has led to healthcare costs exploding. And in the end, the people that are going to pick up the tab if Obamacare stays in place is going to be you. It is the middle class that is going to pick up the tab. Your premiums are going to go up. Your taxes are going to go up. You're the ones that are going to be paying for all these other deadbeats who aren't responsible enough to get their own insurance, or God forbid, the 15 million illegals in this country that Obama wants to give amnesty to and has promised them Obamacare. And if you want to know what the theme of all of this is, what progressivism is at its very core, what liberalism is at its very core, it's not about compassion. It's not about empathy. It's not about taking care of the weak or the poor. It's about control and power. Obamacare was about control and power. Forcing you to buy health care whether you want to or not. Forcing you to get a certain plan. Forcing you to go to a doctor whether you want to or not. Having the government take over your health care and your body. Control and power. What has been going on with Jim Lyons when he spoke to us in the last segment? Now they're going to tell us where we can protest, how we can protest, how far away we can protest, what we can say or not say in front of an abortion clinic. You want to control my speech? You want to control what I say or can't say? What sign I can put up? Control and power. Market basket. Why now are they desperately trying to kick out RDT? Control and power. So they can amass more wealth for themselves, more greed for themselves, more for themselves. What is the whole issue of illegal immigration all about at its fundamental core? Control and power. To control the United States. To put in a permanent ruling democratic elite that will have all of these, this permanent labor class, this permanent welfare class, this permanent illegal immigrant class, keeping them in power through vote after vote after vote. That's what this is all about. This is all about control and power. Control over your lives, control over your communities, control over your neighborhoods. According to those liberal fascist thugs in Lynn yesterday, you can't even protest this. If you're the mayor of Lynn, you can't even complain that you're being overrun by illegals. According to them, save the kids, deport the racists. You should be deported. You should be put in FEMA camps. It's all about control and power. Over your body, over your speech, over your health care, over your communities, over your neighborhood, over your child, over your education. That's what this is all about. Socialism inevitably leads to tyranny. And that's why the Constitution and this republic for the radical left must be destroyed. My friends, it's time we took a stand and saved our republic from this clear and present danger, from the traitors in our midst. This Saturday, July 26th, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Join me for the mother of all rallies. Stop the invasion. Let's tell Mini-Me. He works for us. We don't work for him. Join me at the steps of the State House as we hold a Stop an Invasion rally. I need all of you to come. Please bring your friends, relatives, family members. We need as many people as possible because together we can win and win big. Jennifer, thanks for holding and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. I initially called to talk to you about hothead Maria Carrasco and Lynn. I'd love to see her on your show. She'd probably hang herself with her obnoxious comments. But everything else you've spoken about is completely true, and it all traces back to Obama. He's taken Jesus out of everything and has reduced the country to nothing.
No, but Jennifer, have you noticed now? They're all like, it's incredible. It's like they've all gone to divinity school overnight. I notice now, Jesus is hip. Jesus is cool. Jesus is in again. Everybody's quoting the Bible and Scripture. Mini-Me, Chief Spreading Bull, the Lynn activists, the Dear Leader, everybody. It's incredible. Suddenly, when it comes to these illegal immigrants, future Democratic voters, I believe Jesus is alive and well today. I believe. They sound like what's his name? That Bible thumper, Jimmy, what is his name? Tammy and, what is it? The Jimmy, what was his name? The guy who was caught with the prostitute and then said, I forgive me, I've sinned against you. Anyway. Jimmy Swaggart. They all sound like Jimmy Swaggart now. Everyone's doing their best Jimmy Swaggart imitation. I have sinned against you. Take in the illegals. I believe in Jesus Christ, my Savior. Hallelujah. Save the illegals. Hallelujah. Can I get an amen, somebody? Give me an amen. Keep them here. Let them vote. Let them give me BT cards. Give them welfare. Amen. 9:57 on the great WRKO. John, you're up next. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Hello.
Hi, John.
Hi. I hate to say it, but people get what they deserve. I voted for Mitt Romney twice. And do you think this stuff would be going on now if he was president?
No.
No, of course not. But people, I talked to a lot of my friends too, and I said, you should vote for him. But as far as, I was going to say that the Republican Party can give things away, just like the Democrat Party. But the Republicans know down the long run, if you work for what you get, you appreciate it more. And the Democrats make bums out of people.
Very well said, John. Duvall only supports two kinds of people. Actually, three. Illegal aliens, deadbeats, and freeloaders. Brenda, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. I hope I have a little extra time than yesterday. First and foremost, I want to thank you personally for organizing this rally. You're not just a man who talks the talk, you walk the walk. And when I promote RKO and I promote your show, I tell people, you're the real deal. We are a blessing, Jeff, because you're in our area. You are really a major blessing to all of us.
Thank
I just wanted to let you know that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
In terms of Martha Coakley, she is a rabid feminazi. I can't even get the words out of my mouth. She peddles progressive poison. I would go to bat for her to defend her worldview, but she wouldn't defend my worldview. That's what makes the difference between the two of us. She won't defend my worldview. I mean, she disagrees with, that's fine. But I have the right to my free will. They're all about forced acceptance.
Brenda, remember there used to be a saying, liberals used to say this decades ago, many years ago, I don't agree with you, but I will fight to the death for your opinion. That liberalism is gone. Jeff Kuhner is the last true liberal left. I disagree with you, but I will fight to the death for your right to say it. We believe in tolerance. They don't. That's the difference between us and them, my friends. I gotta go. I'm up against it. You've been listening to Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. And remember, together, my friends, we're beating liberals. No, we're driving them crazy. One day at a time.
News at the top and bottom. talk in between.
Executing assigned host duties flawlessly because I can't do wrong.
This is AM 680 WRKO, Boston.